Guys, we got some breaking news for you. This is not a planned video. This is something that we just saw today. Some very important news regarding Tomahawk Talk and the Atlanta Braves this year. And it's not good news, guys. It's actually very bad news for the Braves this season. Josh, what do we got?
Jurickson Profar is an absolute idiot.
Go crazy! Go stupid!
Getting a 162 game suspension for his second positive drug test. He got tested for PEDs and it came positive again. And this comes after last year,
man.
where he spent half the season suspended, the first half of the season suspended because of, again, PEDs. And because this is his second offense, he's missing the entire season. And obviously that knocks him out of any playoff chances as well, knocks him out of the World Baseball Classic. That's actually a pretty big hit to Netherlands as well. So it's not just the Braves that's hurting from this, it's his own country. So this is unfortunate. I feel like we just can't catch a break, Jordan.
Yeah, and Josh, I think you might have done it again, jinxing us here with the Jurickson Profar talk in this last episode, which, right immediately afterwards, he gets the suspension. But it turns out you just need to stop talking about Braves players during Tomahawk Talk. I know that's pretty difficult.
That's a difficult thing to do. But not this.
I mean, you're gonna have to find a way, man.
Jordan, is the start to this season starting worse than last season? Because the season hasn't even started yet. We already have Schwellenbach hurt. We have Waldrop hurt. Smith-Shawver still, who knows if he'll come back. He, dating back to the injury last season. You got the Ha-Seong Kim injury. Joe Jimenez still, injured. Who knows when or if he will come back. And now Profar expected, he's going to miss the entirety of this season, Jordan. What's going on?
Listen, man, I've got one single theory about this Braves team. You know what that theory is?
What is that theory?
I think they're cursed. That's my theory. I think that it makes sense. It's the only way that we could keep on having these unfortunate things keep on happening back to back to back to back to back, man.
Certainly been.
What do we got? We got also Sean Murphy injured on top of all those guys you've already talked about, man. It never ends for these Braves, man. And, we're just looking at this. Profar out for the season. I mean, where do you go, man? Where do you go with Profar out?
The thing with this suspension is that since it is a suspension and, not like an injury or something, his entire year's salary is completely voided. So that's $15 million that Profar was expected to earn this year that the Braves will not have to pay him. And in fact, the Braves will save even more money than that because of luxury tax stuff. So it does free up close to like $20 million when you add in the luxury tax stuff. It frees up a lot. But the only thing is, it's such a big hit to this offense because we were looking at some different projections earlier, and MLB had Profar hitting in the 4th spot. And a lot of teams, you don't want to lose your 4th spot, your 4-hole, for the entire season. You're probably not going to find a solid replacement for that bat. But before we get into possible replacements for Profar, it's stupid. It's so frustrating. You got caught last year. All right, maybe it was one of them fluke things. Fernando Tatis struggled with something similar a while back. It says ringworm medication or something. Profar was like, no, I'm sorry. It was, I would never willingly do something like that. I'm sorry, whatever. But then you do it again? In back-to-back years, you do it again? And the thing that's kind of making me now wonder a little bit is that Profar was kind of a dud up until 2024. Because I'm looking at his stats. He didn't have a OPS really near 800 until 2024. I mean, he was a super prospect in baseball, hadn't really done too much, and then in 2024 he broke out as an all-star with an 839 OPS and hitting 24 dingers. 85 ribbies. I mean, that's what the Braves saw. That, oh man, this guy actually has some pretty solid upside. You know, his baseball savant stuff, all his stuff shooting up. You know, maybe he tweaked some stuff mechanically. It's what he said. But then now that you kind of think back to it, back to back years with suspensions because of PEDs, and the year before that was his career high in everything, just kind of out of nowhere. That makes you think. Last year, did he start these PEDs? Is he kind of what? Did he start juicing last year or in 2024, and that's why he exploded? What do you think? What do you think?
I mean, when you put it all together, it's really hard to ignore all that, man. It's the obvious elephant in the room, man. He sucked, and then 2024 he breaks out, and right after that season they give him a drug test and he's positive, man. It's really sketchy. I'll say that. I'm not gonna say 100% yes, that is why he broke out, but it's very difficult to ignore, man. It's you know it, it's tough to just glance over that, and it sucks that the Braves sign him thinking that he actually is that superstar, and then he turns out to just, play what he played like 80 games last
Yeah,
year, if that,
exactly.
and then you sign him to this big contract, and granted, like you said, most of it's not gone to him just because of it being a suspension and not like an injury or something, but it sucks to see, man, seeing that uh, this guy he breaks out and then it seems to be all just fake based on the
And he
drugs
looked
here.
solid when he was back playing last year, a 121 OPS and 14 home runs in his 80 games. So he looked solid even then. And like I said,
Yeah, good defense
you're
too.
losing a really strong bat. Profar probably either the DH or splitting some time in left with Mikey Yastrzemski, but now it's kind of, what do we do? Where do we go? And also, like I said, it's so frustrating because you think you get suspended for PEDs one season, and then you're doing it the next season, like directly back to back. Like, I'm sorry, how dumb do you have to be to do that? It is super frustrating. It's bad for baseball. It's terrible. Like I don't know how you don't have the knowledge that, hey, maybe this isn't the best idea. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. He's going in the cage. He's like, oh man, I'm only, EV's only like, 105 or 104. Guess I gotta juice up again. I don't know what made him think that, since he got caught last year, he has to re-jump on the juicing train. But it's super frustrating. It's terrible for the sport. It's frustrating as a Braves fan because, like I said, we're already dealing with all these, injuries to the pitching staff, a few other, um, injuries on offense as well. And now we lose a top five bat on our team for the entirety of next season. Like we said, thankfully you don't have to pay him, but still that's a huge hole, and that's a roster spot that now needs to be fixed. And the Braves are kind of in a tough situation right now.
Yeah, so the question is, where do the Braves go from here? And my thought is, in left field they put Eli White. We saw him last year. Saw him a bit the year before. He very speedy guy. I'm thinking the Braves go there in left. What are you thinking, Josh?
I think there's a very good chance that White starts off in left. I feel like if I was to bet on what would happen, I feel like that's the safe play. But at the same time, Eli White has not been great offensively. He's solid defensively. Got some wheels to him as well. But that's again, you're going from your number 4 or 5 guy in the lineup to a 8 or 9 guy, right? So that's a huge miss.
Yeah.
Again, pretty good defense and base running, and White had a stretch last season where he went crazy and then he kind of fell off a cliff. But I don't know. I think if you're gonna go internally, I think Eli White is the option. But since this is such a terrible news, I like to look at maybe something positive that, who knows, maybe the Braves can go out and get someone else. I have an interesting name for you, Jordan. I know you're a big fan of this
All
guy.
right.
it would cost a good bit to go out and get a deal with him. But the Braves during the preseason and during the off season, there was a bunch of talk about the Braves were really interested in getting this guy. And maybe this is now the point where you're kind of in desperation mode. You're, you thought your offense was going to carry you until you can get some of those solid arms back. Now it's looking like that's a huge hit to your offense. So do you go all out and go and get a guy like Byron Buxton?
Yeah, I heard talks about that. Um, that would be really cool to see. Buxton, I think you gotta. I don't know where you put him out there. He's a good defender. I guess you would have to put him in left. Michael Harris, obviously out there in
He's
center,
a
and
great
Acuna in right. But
center fielder, but I think also if you put him in the corner, that he's dealt with some health concerns and stuff. You put him in the corner outfield position, that could possibly help help with some of that as well.
yeah, good power. We haven't really seen him play a full season except until like last year, and we saw an All-Star campaign out of him. He made the home run derby, I
Jordan,
believe, right?
this guy in 129 games, Buxton hit 35 homers,
Yeah, like
24 stolen
that's
bases.
incredible power.
I mean, if
Very quick.
what we were saying is, Profar probably either your 4 or 5 guy in the lineup. However, Weiss wants to move stuff around. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, Buxton would make out of all the different guys I can really think of that might be somewhat possible. There's a few options on the market, which we'll talk about in a second. A few internal options, like we mentioned with Eli White. But really, I don't see any logical move that would give you the bat as similar to Profar, that is Byron Buxton, because Buxton, you could certainly slot him in at that 4 spot and feel very comfortable that, hey, not only is this a good solid replacement for Jurickson Profar, but also it's a huge upgrade as long as he stays healthy.
Yeah, and the only issue I could see potentially coming up with that is Profar still has 1 year left on his contract, right? And where do you go when he comes back? You've got four solid outfielders. Um, Nobody's going to want to trade for Profar, having seen probably these last 2 years. I wouldn't expect anyone to want to trade for him. So, what do you do when he comes back? I would love to see Buxton as a Brave. I would love to see it. I grew up as a Twins fan. My dad a Twins fan, family from Minnesota, and I've always really liked Buxton. He's had a special place in my heart. I would love to see him be a Brave, but I don't know where you go when Profar does come back next year. Obviously, only 1 year on the contract remaining, but what do you
I
do
don't
then?
think that's as much of an issue. There's one more thing that I'll talk about with this deal that could be a potential issue. I think the Braves could possibly try to void the rest of this contract. I don't know if they'll be able to, but I could certainly see a good chance of you just cutting him. I mean, he's only played 80 games, and you're missing out of a season and a half worth of games in the first two years. He's gonna miss. I think I saw it was over 240 games because of suspension in back-to-back years. And even if and when he possibly would come back next year, is he just going to be crap? Rangers and early Padres Jurickson Profar. Like, is the only reason he's been somewhat decent the last few years because of him roiding up. So would it really like? I think you could possibly just cut him. I'm not 100% sure what would go on there. I don't know what his future will be. I think I saw something that there's only like 7 guys who have been suspended an entire season because of PEDs, and only like 3 of those guys ever played professional baseball again. So I don't know if he
Yeah,
could follow a similar track there, but I feel like the largest issue would be the Braves giving a large enough package to the Twins, because Buxton, a great player. Like I said, the Braves would free up some money for him with all the Profar suspensions. Like that's almost 20 million nullified. But you'd have to give up a solid package for Buxton, you probably have to give maybe your third or fourth best prospect in the system, with pairing it maybe with a fifth or sixth, maybe a guy like Didier Fuentes, but I don't know if the Braves would want to move on from someone like that. So I don't know what sort of prospect package do you think would be required there?
Dude, Buxton's a great
Yeah,
player. It's gonna take a lot that I don't think Alex Anthopoulos will do because it's Alex Anthopoulos. Um, but like you said, I think you're gonna have to give up a couple of your top prospects, and um, it's it would suck to see those guys go, being young. I maybe even see a guy like Richie going. You mentioned Didier Fuentes, a young guy like that. I wouldn't blame the Twins for doing something like that with the pitching staff
give him
concerns
Bryce
they've
Harper.
had. Obviously, yeah, we can throw Bryce Elder in there, man. We'll pay you to take him, but um, like you said, it's gonna be pricey, and that's not really in the cards for the Braves. It's pricey.
The only
Um,
guys,
at least not from what we've seen.
the only guys I'd say that you cannot give up in this situation is Caminiti and possibly Richie. The farthest I'd go is
Yeah,
Fuentes, but even then he has some great life in his stuff, and he's still really young. But I don't know, is this desperation time yet because you're losing such a big bat and you were really leaning on this offense to really produce, and now you know, there's so many guys in that lineup that have been injured over the last few years that it's kind of like, you're hoping for bounce back seasons. Profar was good last year when he was playing, so it's a big bat that you're gonna be without. Any other possible other replacements for Profar that you're thinking of, Jordan?
so I have a couple interesting ones, and these are some free agents here. Obviously, it wasn't completely nailed down whether Profar would be in left field or DH. So I'm gonna go with one of each here, and this is one that I could see actually happening. Um, we saw it with um, we've seen it with other guys, um, but I think the Braves could go out and get a guy like Jason Hayward, bring him back, a little older, not again not that great. Let's look at his stats from the last few years. Um, you see in like a 1.9 WAR, not bad. Still a decent defender. He's obviously not played a full season in quite some time, but I think that's one that actually could happen. Is seeing the Braves go back and get a guy like Jason Hayward, bringing him back, going into his age 36 season as just that replacement level guy. Wouldn't blame them for doing that. What do you
I
think,
think
Josh?
that'd be a interesting addition. I don't know if if the Braves are, Anthopoulos are looking at that, is he that much better than a guy like Eli White? So it's kind of, you know, like that's the problem with the situation is you're losing a consistent, probably top five, top four bat in this team, and no matter who you try to replace him with, unless you're really, breaking the bank because of, the mistakes of Profar, it's going to be kind of tough to fill that spot. I think Hayward would be a good idea. Another guy who's kind of similar to Hayward that I was thinking of, who's currently on the free agent market, is a guy like Andrew McCutchen. He's still free agent,
Yeah,
outfielder. Not last season, not great offensively. 700 OPS, 13. Let's see. Let's see. I believe it was like 13 home runs or something. Only point 0.1 WAR, but he's a guy who's been good in the past, and he can, certainly add some solid veteran presence as well. But I don't know. I don't care who you go with. It's still a tough situation.
yeah. Nobody's gonna be able to replace that bat unless we go out and make a trade. There's just not enough people left on the free agent market at this point. About to open up the season here, not too far away. It seems too late for something like this to happen and be able to get a guy that's close to being that same replacement level from the free agent market. Looking internally, there's a couple guys. We already mentioned Eli White. You know of any other guys internally that the Braves might try and finagle around to try and replace Profar?
You could go Dominic Smith for a little bit. He's been decent. Have him in spring camp. He's solid with the Giants over his career. Again, you could slot him in a DH. But the final question that I have regarding this whole situation is, do you even would it even be worth going out and doing all this when you could possibly try rolling Murphy in at DH? You give Eli White, a month or two in that, taking that outfield spot so Yastrzemski can DH, see what happens, and then, if it's, not working out and, Eli White is, kind of doing how we kind of expect that he would, then, roll in with Murphy. But it's another question if Murphy wasn't the best offensively last year. He got beat out by a rookie catcher who ended up winning Rookie of the Year. So even then, it's just so many question marks with this situation. But I think they'll probably go internally.
One more final interesting idea for you here,
see.
Josh. We've seen in the past Mauricio Dubon play in the outfield. He's really a utility guy. Obviously, we've seen Jorge Mateo in spring training looking decent at the shortstop position. Do you go to a guy like Dubon out there and
I'd rather have a guy like Eli White who's, I don't know. Dubon not the best with the bat, a 600, 650 OPS at the max type of guy. Eli White at least has some pop and potential with stuff, and again, super, super fast as well on the base path. But I don't know. It's just tough it's a tough pill to swallow. I really would love to see the Braves make a move because, like I said, this opens up almost $20 million. Maybe they don't get a bat, and this is where you go in and say, hey, you know what, Lucas Giolito, come on, or something like that. But I don't know. It's just an unfortunate situation.
Yep. And sorry, Braves fans, to lay this on you here. We hated to see it.
I thought it was fake at first.
I figured we'd go ahead and make a quick video. I actually thought it was a meme again, but I saw Jeff Passan posted it. I was like, oh no,
you
dude,
sent it to me, and I was like, this guy just AI generating something random. Like, there's no way someone would be this dumb,
Nope.
Dumb enough to take PEDs 2 years in a row when he got suspended the direct year before, and he's playing in the, for his country, in the World Baseball Classic. But, there's some dumb people out there. It makes sense. People are quite stupid. Apparently, Jurickson Profar is in the stupid camp.
I would say
and I was looking forward to him with, Ha-Sung Kim as well. They're pretty good buddies. Maybe he's not giving Kim any of his needles. That wouldn't be very good.
Yeah, I hope not.
But yeah, just some unfortunate news.
So yeah, sorry to lay that on you guys, but that's gonna do it for today's video. Go ahead, tell us how you're feeling about this in the comments. Some moves you think the Braves could go ahead and make to try and replace Profar. And thanks for watching, guys.